This is a special podcast presentation from 700WLW.com. This is Darryl Parks On Demand.
Well, good morning, Beal. Good morning. Darryl Parks here on the big one. Day number 1 of the sequester. I got up this morning and I was fearing I'd peek out my window and notice street lights out, maybe flipping on the light in my bathroom, no electricity. I had no idea what to expect, but I know that all hell is going to break loose over the next day or two, or the next month or two, or the next 10 years or 20. And so many of you are buying into this. How shall I put this? How shall I coin this? How shall I describe this? So many of you are buying into this crap and believing what you're being told, whether it's coming from a Republican, or it's coming from a Democrat, or it's coming from Fox News, or it's coming from MSNBC, or it's coming from various talk show hosts. This morning, I did a Google search on articles about the sequester. And I'm just going to read the headlines of these articles. Due to the sequester, people are going to be unsafe. For national parks, sequester could mean canceled parades, dirty bathrooms. No sequester resolution means food safety suffers. Sequester will hurt military readiness. Sequester cuts will hurt the public, according to a Connecticut lawmaker. Sequester cuts get real for unemployed Americans. New mom. Sequester cuts to Women's Center would, quoting, break my heart. Sequester cuts hit elderly first. Sequester cuts loom for Head Start program. Sequester cuts will shortchange students. Law enforcement braces for federal sequester cuts. And then, of course, my favorite, sequester cuts could kill cancer patients. That sounds pretty bad. I mean, that is hell breaking loose here in this country and in the tri-state area with the sequester cuts. So it got me to thinking, sequester. What does this really mean? Where did this come from? Actually, this was coined back in the Reagan years, back in 1985, with some budget deal that was done during that administration. And sequester is a word that is normally used as a verb, and the meaning is to place in safekeeping. However, now in 2013, it's being used to scare the hell out of you. So, I hear about $85 billion here. I hear about, $3.8 trillion and $16 trillion in debt, and you hear all these big numbers. And when it comes to a trillion, before I get into this, let me give a definition of a trillion. It's an accounting theory. There's never been a trillion in any room. A trillion of anything, all right? So even an accountant, like a CPA, will tell you, it's like, it's like 3 extra zeros on a billion. My calculator doesn't even go up that high. So we talk about trillions and billions, and this morning I thought I'd actually put this in a way that it would be meaningful to you. So, you have the politicians, whether it's Obama or it's Boehner or it's Mitch McConnell or whoever wants to get in front of a microphone. And by the way, it's nice that all hell is going to break loose and those in charge of these so-called theories, these trillions, decided to take some time off. But I digress. Anyway, so over 10 years, the federal government would spend, using today's numbers, $38 trillion, right? 3.8 trillion today times 10, that's 38 trillion. So they plan on cutting 1.2 trillion over those 10 years. Of that 38 trillion, 14 trillion would be borrowed money. What they're telling you today is that this whole sequester is actually going to cut $85 billion a year out of this federal budget of $3.8 trillion. And by the way, the federal government really doesn't ever have a budget. They kind of tell you that, but that is just like estimates of what they're going to spend and borrow and stuff like that. Now, of the $85 billion, the cuts are actually just $44 billion in cash money. The remaining amount of money is just estimates of increases in federal spending. You follow me? So it's only $44 billion in actual cash money. Now, I know what you're saying, Darryl. These numbers I can't understand. I can't understand them. You could have like the smartest economist, or you could have like the smartest CPA in Cincinnati. He or she doesn't understand what this means. I don't think Obama understands. Boehner doesn't get it. None of them get it. So let me try to put this in a way that you could understand in everyday life. Let's talk Big Macs. McDonald's. Let's talk a Big Mac. In fact, let's talk a Big Mac extra value meal. Now, that includes the tasty Big Mac. That includes a medium Coke, full octane, full calories, and a large order of fries. So, the extra value meal for a Big Mac is 1,320 calories. Tasty, 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 right? Now, $44 billion in cuts equals, are you ready for this? 1/80th. 1/80th. All right? Of the budget. Or using my Big Mac example, the extra value meal equals 16.5 calories out of 1,320 calories in the yummy, tasty Big Mac extra value meal. So, this is the diet the austerity diet that we are being put on with this so-called budget cut. 16.5 calories. Let me put a picture to that. That is equal to 2.5 French fries. So on this austerity budget of the sequester, you get to eat the Big Mac. You get to wash it down with that full octane Coke, medium Coke. And you get to eat 84.5 of the 87 fries in the large French fry at McDonald's. Does it make sense now? They're yelling. They're pointing out the evil that is going to happen to you. They're pointing out the evil to cancer patients. They're pointing out the evil to Head Start programs or the seniors. The seniors that are how shall I put this, stealing money from the younger generations to make sure that they live comfortably until the Grim Reaper comes and knocks on their front door, and the Undertaker comes and puts them in the casket. They get their fair share. They're getting their share of all this money. But when it comes to Gen Xers or Gen Y or millennials, you're going to be broke. They're talking about the doom and gloom. And in reality, this isn't any doom and gloom. None. 16.5 calories out of 1,320 calories. And by the way, wasn't it just in November when all these clowns were running for office? Commercials running, so-and-so is for seniors. Or so-and-so is a fiscal conservative. Didn't matter if they were a Democrat or a Republican. They were a fiscal conservative. That was only a few months ago. And now they're in panic because they don't really want to do what they need to do. And make cuts and make more cuts. You know, maybe get that up to 33, double it. 33 calories maybe? Out of 1,320? Could they handle that? These people are a bunch of cowards. These people are a bunch of liars. These people will do anything to scare you, which they're doing. These people will do anything to spread misinformation. And they refuse to do their jobs. That is what is going on with the sequester. A verb that means to place in safe keeping. 18 past 9 on the big one, 700 WL. Deal there. Mark with a C. Amazon is a non-essential employee, I guess. That's 22 after 9. I'm Darryl Parks. Fox 19 Storm Tracker forecast from Katie Morgan, meteorologist extraordinaire for today. Cloudy, cold, and a few flurries possible with, it says high, nothing. What's today's high supposed to be, Brian? You know? Make it up, maybe, 38 sound good? 34, 38. For tonight, cloudy skies, a low of 25. For tomorrow, cloudy skies with a high of 33. And it is cloudy, 26 at the big one, 700 WLW. Darryl Parks, essential employee. 513-749-7000, 1-800-THE-BIG ONE, pound 700 on AT&T. So all the things that you've been told regarding the... And sequester is such a nice word, isn't it? To put things in safekeeping. The word has Latin origins. See, I come here this morning to educate you. It doesn't mean all hell is going to break loose, but that's what people keep telling us. All hell is going to break loose. As a matter of fact, a poll was done this past week when you and many other people in the country were asked to use one word to describe the sequester. Negative words outnumbered good words 4-1. The top 3 negative words were bad, disaster, and this phrase. You sitting down for this one? This was right at the top. Quoting, God help us. God help us. Lord, what will happen at midnight, Friday night, Saturday morning? God help us. 513-749-7000, the number here into the bunker. Here's Jim. You're on the big one.
Hey, Darryl, I want to agree with you that, honestly, I don't think Boehner and Obama or any of these guys understand what they're doing. They're just kind of trying to make it through. The other night, we live in an age of plenty. I know I've hit this theme on your show before. We live in an age of plenty. As much as I despise Mayor Bloomberg for his war on the big gulp, he and Bill Gates were on Charlie Rose the other night, and I happened to tune in, and Bloomberg said that for the first time in history, more people are going to die this year in the world of obesity-related complications than of starvation.
Sure.
We live in an age of plenty. Now, to be as charitable as possible to the Fed and to Greenspan and all the international bankers, the central bank, we are living in a money-issuing system that is at least 100 years out of date. And, President Kennedy, for a brief time in June of 1963, issued U.S. money with no interest. Lincoln did it. I want to recommend again to everybody, these are free on the Internet. There's no advertisements. The Money Myth Exploded explains how money should be issued. Why do we need to change? Because of machines and computers.
Well, how should it be issued?
Okay, here's how it should be issued. First of all, the central banks should be the government, not not a private institution like the Fed. Secondly, it should be in the light of day with 6 or 10 private and government agencies auditing them with a 10-year jail term if anybody falsifies the numbers. And finally, the central bank, what's their only reason for existence? And let me say one other thing before I give you this punchline. The Subway guy came out yesterday, said if he was trying to start Subway now, he doesn't think it could make it because the business atmosphere is so hostile. The punchline is the only reason the central governments exist is to issue enough money for business and commerce. In other words, for consumers to be able to buy, for businesses to be able to operate. And so therefore, the central money issuing authority would about estimate the goods and services and issue enough money into circulation to meet those needs. Now, one more thing. Do you remember when Bush and Obama both issued, I think it was both of them in 4 years apart, issued a $300 stimulus check to everybody? Do you remember that?
Yes.
Okay. That would be done. In other words, now the money is being issued into existence as a debt to the government. The Fed issues the money and they start charging interest.
Jim, but here's the problem with the $300. What did people do? They went out and bought a TV.
Okay. Well,
that money went right to China.
That may be right, except that it is economic democracy, and the point is that got the money into existence without interest to the government. Right now, every time the Fed gives the money, Congress what they want, they charge us interest.
Look, let's talk about this whole sequester thing. All right.
Yeah.
Here are the facts. All right. Right now, the real money in the federal government, which is not being touched here, is all that entitlement spending, right?
Yeah.
We are approaching with Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid that is making up close to 50% of the federal budget right now.
Right.
All right. So what they're doing in this sequester is just making cuts to non-defense spending, to defense spending, and they're not going where the real problem is, which is this entitlement spending. And what also is not being talked about here, they always want to talk about the $16 trillion that we're in debt. That's not the problem. The problem is the $215 trillion in unfunded liabilities.
Yeah.
That is the problem. It's not the $16 trillion that these clowns keep spewing every time there's a TV camera and a microphone in front of them.
Yeah, but let me recommend one other free source on the internet. It's This Age of Plenty, but we don't have time to go into it on a talk show, but we're not in as big a trouble as you think on that because of machines and technology. As long as, the problem we got to face in the future is a bunch of deadbeats like we already have. That's the problem.
Right.
All right,
Jim, have a great weekend.
You too. Bye-bye.
All right, Jim and I are in agreement there. A bunch of deadbeats. How about Bloomberg, too, man? Bloomberg is outlawing, 2-liter bottles of pop now? I think he has a case of the goo-goo with Pepsi and a case of the goo-goo with Coca-Cola. There's something unspoken there. He's going after the big gulps, the swamp drainers at the convenience stores, and he's going after the 2-liter bottles of Coke. Man. Someday we'll find out why he has a case of the goo with pop. 29 after 9 on the big one, 700 WL. Graduation season is upon us, a time when the Veal will be gripping their new degrees and the proud Veal parents will be filled with pride. College debt is over $1 trillion now, and many of your Veal kids will be stuck with debt they'll never be able to pay back. And I have information on the blog to see if your kid was smart and chose a degree with an ROI, meaning return on investment, or did they study something that will guarantee their poverty for the rest of their life. So go to the blog at 700WLW.com and see the degrees, the 8 degrees with the absolute worst return on investment. 700WLW.com. Search the word Darryl. It is a service of Alarm Force. Yesterday morning, I was listening to Scott Sloan. He had Jay Ratliff on, spreading panic across the tri-state on all the horrors that will happen with this sequester and the cutbacks when it comes to flying at CVG and if you fly out of Dayton or Port Columbus or any of the region airports. A crisis. An absolute crisis. Well, if you fly out of CVG on a regular basis, you know there's never a delay now. Hell, you can't even get a burger anymore. They close up the restaurants during the day. Anyway, part of the problem here and the scare tactics with the $85 billion, which is really $44 billion in actual cash money in these cuts, air travel and TSA, there are going to be lines upon lines of people waiting to get through, like going through the checkpoint Charlie at an airport is efficient now, right? But the TSA is going to be delaying you. The tower controllers, the air traffic controllers, they're going to be delaying takeoffs and landings, like there are any takeoffs and landings like there were just a few years ago at CVG. Believe me, there's never a delay now. If you fly into CVG, on a regular basis, the plane actually lands about a half hour before it was scheduled to land. Why? Because not that many planes are landing there anymore at the as the Cincinnati Enquirer still calls it, the Delta hub. Yeah. Defense Department cuts going on over more than 1 million federal workers. I will call these million people non-essential employees that will be furloughed, up to 22 days in a year. Over 1 million federal workers would be furloughed up to 22 days as a result of the sequester. Horrible. But none of these federal workers would be furloughed for a day or two here and there for at least 30 to 45 days from today, because they have to be given notice. Boy, union contracts are grand, aren't they? Wow. They have to be given a 30 to 45 day notice depending upon the union. Union gigs. About that. And if you go to national parks, which I love going to national parks. That's kind of like one of my things when it comes to vacation time. Snow plowing was to begin this coming Monday on March 4th at Yellowstone National Park. However, because of all these cuts, the snow plows will remain in the parking lot at Yellowstone to save money. That means nearly 200 miles of roads may not be plowed until the third Friday of April. The third Friday of April is the traditional opening day for auto traffic in Yellowstone National Park. However, even with the sequester cuts, Yellowstone, the park will indeed stay open. The visitor center will stay open. The park rangers will be there, and the bathrooms will remain open, although they may be a little bit dirty. Bottom line with all these cuts, many of these won't start until next year, until January 1st of 2014. So this whole scare tactic of what evil awaited us this morning as the sun came up and we rolled out of bed was simply a lie. It was a lie of the president. It was a lie from Boehner. It was a lie from any politician that got a hold of a microphone and a TV camera or appeared on MSNBC or Fox News. They were lying to you. They even lie to you when they use the term sequester. By definition, to place in safe keeping. That sounds kind of nice, right? That sounds positive. But now they have spun the word sequester into a negative. They've even spun it from being a verb. For instance, mandatory automatic budget cuts. That has more meaning than sequester, doesn't it? Mandatory automatic budget cuts. That sounds serious. That sounds ominous. Sequester still has such a nice sound to it. We'll have a quick look at sports coming up, and also we have Ken on the line. We have Nan to give us her view of the sequester. Plus, if a line becomes available, 513-749-7000. Day number 1 of the sequester, and thank God the electricity is still on. I'm Darryl Parks on the Big. Reds baseball of yesterday, they lost to Kansas City 3-2. Take on the White Sox this afternoon, 2:35 for the inside pitch, 3:05 for the first pitch right here on the home of the Reds, 700 WLW. In college basketball for today, full slate. We have UC taking on UConn, 2 o'clock. You can hear that game on WEBN 102.7. UK takes on Arkansas at 4 o'clock this afternoon. ESPN 1530 has that game. Xavier battles Massachusetts at 2 o'clock this afternoon. 55 KRC has that game, and also Miami takes on Kent State, 3 o'clock tip-off this afternoon. Oh, and Danica Patrick for the Phoenix race coming up tomorrow. Who would have thunk she qualified 40th out of 43? That is a shock to me. I am shocked that NASCAR would allow that. 513-749-7000, our number, and here is Ken. Ken, you're on the big one.
Thank you, Gary, and thanks for taking my call.
Well, first of all, it's Darryl.
Darryl, I'm sorry.
Are you Ken?
Yes, I am Ken.
Okay.
And you are Darryl.
I'm Darryl.
Hey, I got one point and one question.
I have better hair.
Okay.
Better teeth.
Why don't they just discontinue the free Obama phones? That's $2.5 billion a year being wasted. Why don't they cut that instead of oxygen to the old folks and planes falling out
Where are they? Where are they cutting oxygen to the old folks?
Well, that's what they said yesterday.
Who said that?
It was on somebody's radio show. I don't know. One other thing. Who do you think? Who do you think he's going to pick for the Pope? Obama. Doesn't he get to choose?
Who Obama's going to pick for the Pope?
Yeah. Isn't he going to do that this year?
Obama?
Yeah. A man with his power certainly should have that skill and ability.
So Ken, you're believing all the crap you hear, right?
No, I'm just poking fun at it.
No. You see, you're focusing on Obama. You're, like Obama is the one that came up with the sequester.
Yeah.
Did he?
Well, they say he did.
Well, you're wrong.
Oh.
It was a nonpartisan committee that came up with the sequester about a little over a year ago.
Okay. Sorry I bothered you today.
Okay, Ken.
Bye.
See ya. Ken's watching a little bit too much Fox News. All right, Nan, 700 WLW.
Good morning. How are you, Darryl?
Nan, I can't complain. I went for a walk last Sunday, and they're popping out of the ground where the
irises.
Well, yeah. I mean, all those crocuses were popping up, and I was like, you know what? It's a little cool, but the sun is shining, and this is what makes a long winter worth it. Like this morning, we have some flurries here in Kenwood. I'm not sure if it's you got some snow in your area, but we have some flurries. But you know what? That long winter, when you start seeing those plants and Mother Nature coming back to life, that's what makes a long winter worth it.
And the robins are out, and that's a sign of spring.
Nan, the robins never left.
Well,
I'm
they
serious.
disappeared for a while in my backyard.
I saw robins all winter.
Did you?
I sure did, yeah.
Wow. Now they're stupid like my bulbs. They come up every year and it snows on them.
No, that's Mother Nature, Nan. Okay. That's Mother Nature. So when you see those bulbs, when you see those plants pop through the ground and you see robins hanging around, that's a sure sign of spring.
Yeah, I'm all for it. Yep. But anyway, I love how you opened because I was thinking, what a pile of number 2. That's what I call it. You mean
the McDonald's?
No. Maxine Waters with her. We're going to lose 170 million jobs. He ought to do a mind meld with her and give her a mind.
Well, here's the deal. I mean, I think if you're in office, you have to know how many jobs there actually are in America. I mean, I think that may be a prerequisite for running for office if you're going to make comments like that.
Absolutely. I call him the tragedy king, our president. I have dubbed him, drama queen. We have Nancy Pelosi for that job. She fills that job nicely.
Yeah, she's scaring people, too.
Oh, yes. Well, her face is scary anymore. She's had so many facelifts, there's no...
You know what I noticed yesterday?
What?
Her ears are getting really big.
Well, because there's no meat left in her shoes, they keep tying it around her ears.
Mm-hmm.
But she gets on there, and I'm a cancer patient, and I woke up, and I'm still alive. I'm still in remission, Darryl.
No, Nan. According to the article I saw this morning, these sequester cuts will kill cancer patients.
Well, I'll tell you what's killing cancer patients. Obamacare, I lost my oncologist. My radiologist left. I'm telling you, they are not for not getting paid to go through all that school.
Well, I'm trying to be fair here, though, Nan.
Okay.
Because John Boehner's scaring everyone, too, with the sequester cuts.
Well, I wish he'd quit with the orange tan, because that's scary. We have
No, Nan. Be fair. He looked a little pale at the
Did he?
State of the Union address.
Well, he looked oranger. We thought he played some golf recently because he looked pretty orange again.
No, I thought he looked pretty pale.
I am so glad he finally. We sent so many emails and so many calls and told them, cut the crap, cut the spending, stop spending, and
well,
finally,
they're not cutting anything. See, they're trying to scare people, but they're not cutting anything. They're cutting 1/80th of spending of cash money.
I hear you. And isn't it true? I mean, the budget, even if they don't spend it, they up it like 7% the next year or something.
Right. What they're doing is they're cutting future expenses. They're cutting future increases, I should say.
It makes me crazy.
Yeah. And they're making it sound like they're actually doing something. They're doing nothing. They're doing crap.
Well, yeah, pile number 2. That's what I call it. And I loved it when you opened, because last night before I went to bed, I thought, what a pile of number 2. Every time that man gets up and opens his mouth, out it comes. He lies like a rug.
Nan, I am not supporting anyone. They're all doing it. They're all doing it.
But he has the bully pulpit. He stands up
so
there.
Does John Boehner have the bully pulpit?
Well, they told me he can't buy all the time that Obama gets free. So, they all have an excuse.
Who told you that, Nan?
On the line.
They told you that?
At Boehner's office, yes.
Boehner? Yeah, don't believe it. 9 in front of 10 on the big one. Oh, if you're a Duke Energy customer, please be sitting down for this. Not only are you going to get to pay for the streetcar in Cincinnati fuel ride, you're going to get to pay for something that happened recently in Charlotte. I'll tell you in 4 minutes. On the big one, 700 WL. Hey, friend me on Facebook, facebook.com/Darryl Parks, DarrylParks. Thousands upon thousands of people converse every day. Pithy comments and comments on stories and things that catch my fancy or catch your fancy on the Facebook page. So facebook.com/Darryl Parks. All right, so we now know that Duke Energy may be passing along the costs of moving those lines in downtown Cincinnati when they build the streetcar nobody is going to ride or fuel ride in downtown Cincinnati. Now we find that Duke Energy loaned, you ready for this, $10 million to stage the Democratic National Convention in Charlotte last year. And they're going to forgive that loan. Which means you, me, if you're a Duke Energy customer, you get to pay for the Democratic National Convention. Isn't that great? Super! All right, here is Rick. Rick, you're on the big one.
Hey, Darryl. Honestly, they're both two cheeks of the same pig's butt. I mean, it's big government, and that's what they think is the answer.
Correct.
Yeah, it's the same as, a preacher, he thinks the religion's the answer. And, if you don't do what he says, then you're going to go to hell.
No, it's amazing the people, and just listen to a couple of the calls, and I'm not belittling the people that have called so far today, but in fact, on Facebook, I'll give you a great example. A fellow messages me on Facebook, and he says, problem, Darryl, that Barry will cut the most visible programs, blah, 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 blah. And I responded, Barry didn't come up with the sequester. It was a nonpartisan committee. So he responded, oh, I know that. I've been watching this with disgust. D's and R's are both slime balls. Right away, it's, you want to point fingers, and it's the president's fault, or it's, the Democrats' fault, or it's the Republicans' fault. And, Rick, both sides, in fact, on the screen here, it says your comments both suck. That is true.
They do.
They are both lying to people, and people are eating this stuff up.
It's very much like when you go up on the school levies. Okay, the school, that's big education. They think, that we can't possibly give enough money to education.
Right. And,
okay.
and they always come back for more.
And if you deny them, the first thing they cut are the things that are going to make the parents mad, and hopefully inspire them to give them more money.
Look, if do yourself a favor, if you're in front of a computer this morning, just Google easy to understand sequester cuts. That's what I Googled this morning. Sequester cuts will hurt the public. Cuts could kill cancer patients. Sequester cuts loom for Head Start program. Sequester cuts hit the elderly first. And we all know every politician is for seniors. Correct? 10:06 this morning, I have a fear about the new casino, the Horseshoe Casino in downtown Cincinnati. It is a beautiful building. $400 million it cost to build. But I have a fear about the GQI. This is the home of the Reds, 700 WL.